So panel, we come out to us, and we'll start with you, Deacon Greg. You expertly can speak to this from the Secret Service side of things. What do you see here? This is a third assassination attempt in really less than a year and a half.
Yeah, to say the least. Well, I did almost 22 years and protected 6 presidents, been at that location several times. We actually called that Hilton the Hinckley Hilton because it's the same Hilton where President Reagan was shot when I was still a police officer here, and that's when I kind of really got interested in the Secret Service, when I saw how quick the agents reacted to that and the machine guns coming out, kind of captivated me. But so we studied in the Secret Service Academy this hotel. People don't realize that this has over 1,100 rooms in it. That is a big campus, okay? Big campus. And at this particular event, I heard the guy just say 2,600 people were at this event. Also realized that there was other events going on besides this in wedding receptions, graduation parties, anniversaries. And so we didn't control this environment. And as Secret Service, that's what we like to do. We like to control everything. I've been retired for over 20 years, but we still have the same principle that we have an inner circle around the president, and those are the people you saw jump up on the stage and protect them and get in front of them and get them off. You have the middle, which are the magnetometer metal detectors. Then you have the outside layer, which are people that supposedly the staff people are scanning the people only with the right tickets to come in. And then we have something I did for a long time, counter surveillance unit, which I guess you could say we are undercover Secret Service agents in the crowd just to see if anything catches our attention that doesn't fit, okay? So those are the 3 layers that we have. Running through that magnetometer, the first thing I thought of is, they were already breaking down the metal detectors because they had been going for almost 45 minutes. I think that's a mistake. I think you'll see that stop like right away. They're not going to break those down anymore because that's a distraction. People watching the uniform. We have a uniform division and an agent division. I was an agent. The uniform guys do the magnetometers. They do the canine dogs, right? So I think you're going to see them not breaking down so quick anymore, right? Because that was a distraction. The other thing that I'd personally like to see is when you go to Disney World and you have the serpentine waiting lines. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need to do that on these kind of events because you can't have somebody run on a dead run like that, running right through. You saw the results of that. So I think I think you will see adjustments. President Trump, excuse me, says he is going to come back to do this again. I don't know if it'll be at that hotel. That might be a good reason to build that place on the White House lawn, the ballroom, and he's only going to get it for maybe a year if he's lucky. But in the future, for future presidents, we will own that property, and nobody is going to get in there without coming through all the checkpoints and ID and who they are and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Anyone else with regard? It seems to me like the level of political violence is on both sides is at a level that we haven't really talked about on the show. This might be a jumping off point maybe to talk about that, but your thoughts on that and this event.
It's not that the pot is stirred. The pot is boiling over constantly, over and over and over, and it is happening regardless of the office, regardless of the party. It's the way that this country is looking at political discourse, particularly in an election year, it's relentless and it's so very disturbing. I mean, I've had it with commercials. I've had it from both parties. You don't learn anything from a commercial. It's just relentless propaganda from both sides, and enough.
I agree with Stan. There's a real coarsening of political discourse that has been occurring on all sides. I don't look at it as particular blaming either partisan area there. And it's so much so that people really don't like it. Only if it appeals to some emotional sense do they find some kind of appeal to it. But really, I think that political discourse can be really good. And I'm thinking it's out there. We just don't see it as much. Some may think of it as boring, but I mean, to me, ideally, our good political discourse would be about our ideas, our policy, and our values, and they should be debated, and therefore with lots of participation and to debate policy, to look at all of that, and the debate could even be vigorous. For what we need. I think that would actually be really good. I think it would capture a lot of people's attention. But now what we see a lot are attacks on persons and even spoken not very well, and it doesn't really bring up culture too much. That's what you see a lot of. Instead of something much more thoughtful, something really good for the country. And I would like to see more of that, and it's possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the tide shifted, when we moved from being able to have, as you said, heated debates, right? Where I'm just old enough that growing up in school, like we had debate teams, and we learned how to debate and have conversations with others that we adamantly disagreed with, and we could still disagree, but that wouldn't lead to hatred, right? We could still address an issue from various sides and say, what do you think about this? What do you feel about this? Why do you think that way? Why do you feel that way? But what we're played today are the sound bites, right? The clickbaits, I've often referred to them as just to kind of stir us up a little bit, instead of saying, hey, let's just get everybody out and let's talk about the issues. Let's try to get through some of the stuff and just really get down to where do the candidates stand, where are our policies, like what is the essential to that thing that we're looking at. It's just a sad commentary, I think. What did he refer to himself as, a friendly federal assassin or something? Like, really? Like, that's what you called yourself? Like, how did we ever get to the point where we would call a federal assassin friendly? Right, and so I think it's just sad that, especially as a pastor, as a Christian, like to see how this is just denigrated to this place where, wow, the level of vitriol and hostility is just off the roof. It's crazy.
We need to know what these folks represent. How are you going to lead our government? I don't care what you think about your opponent or opponents. That's meaningless. What you want to be elected, okay, what do you do when you assume that office? What direction do you want to take this country?
It's the personal attacks. When, we saw the debate last night out in California where one called, well, you're a liar, and we know you, and you're a millionaire, and you're trying to take money away from millionaires, and they get very personal, and calling, whether they call somebody a communist or they call them a pedophile or a rapist or child rapist. You see these manifestos when these people do these shootings, and just like the CEO of New York, remember? Of course, they're acting like that guy's some kind of a folk hero now that shot a man, in the street. But and then this guy that went after President Trump, and by the way, that's the third attempt in a year and a half. So I'd say chances are we have some more attempts coming up, and unfortunately, if that's the case. But even the manifestos say, I'm going to take this guy out because he's a Nazi or he's a communist or he's a, so you're doing those personal attacks. And like you said, Rabbi, let's hear about what you can do for the economy or for the homeless or what you can do to bring these groups together instead of just personally attacking. Because when you personally attack somebody and categorize them as a Nazi or a communist or whatever, it makes it easier for someone to say, well, you know what, I got a gun. I could do something about this. I'll be a hero. And unfortunately, we see that.
I think how easy it is for us to get sidetracked to other issues, right? So we saw the story, and the big conversation point has obviously been the new ballroom that is looking to be added onto the White House, where they currently have a place, but it doesn't really seat any number of large capacity.
No, I've been in it. It doesn't.
Right, and there's just not a place.
Right.
Well, if we've gotten to this point in our world where we need higher levels of security and protection and those kinds of things, it seems like it's a natural thing, right? Because the White House is going to be the most secure place that we could have our presidents and heads of states, and we could really monitor much easier who gets in and who
Yes.
gets out. I've been to that hotel. I was able to go to the National Prayer Breakfast several years ago, and I was astounded at just how tight it is. And they said that room, you could barely move from table to table. It just looked like the perfect storm for problems to occur.
Yeah. You know, I just got to point one other thing. You know, that ballroom is a big ballroom, but it was underneath the level where the guy ran through, by the way. Those aren't on the same floor. But all those rooms above that giant ballroom, anybody could have brought explosives in and had everything come crashing down. Now, think about that. 2,600 people in a ballroom and the whole building come down on them. That's something that I read online with some of my colleagues, that really could have caused problems because, once again, we don't own the building. We can't go room to room and search with bomb sniffing dogs, 1,100 rooms. We don't have enough people to do that, you know, at this time. Hopefully they're going to change that. That's a great point.
It just seems like it would be a security nightmare to have an event like this inside any hotel.
Yeah, sure.
You don't know who has a room.
But it seems like it wasn't that long ago, was it, that you could do those kind of events and you didn't have the high level of fear or caution that you have today. And again, I think it just speaks to just this heightened level of hostility and anger and vitriol that we are experiencing in our world, that it has made events like this very difficult. What are they supposed to do, right?
I mean, they asked the president, would you be willing to wear a bulletproof vest from now on? And certainly numerous presidents have done that in the past. I know for a fact. But, you know, and he said, no, it makes me look fat. That's typical Trump, I guess. But this is an election mid-cycle, right? Mid-season cycle. So expect him to be out campaigning a lot. And that's like going to ball games, going to, you know, charity events and stuff. So, you know, I mean, the agent's working now. I've been with 6 presidents or former presidents. And I think these men and women on the Secret Service detail for the president, we call PPD, Presidential Protective Division, they got their hands full. They absolutely, because the threat level is off the charts.
I was struck by watching the video how quickly they were able to get Vance off stage.
Yep.
And how much slower it was to get the president off the stage. And was that maybe his doing, saying, wait, I don't want to go?
Yes.
How does that work? I don't know. I mean, they got the vice president
Well, they grabbed him and jerked him out of the
right.
chair, and they went right, which was the shortest distance. Besides, you think about it, we always got to consider, is this a setup for a real ambush next? So if you have a shots or explosion over here, we funnel everyone here, and that's where they're waiting for us, you know, whatever. So we always got to think like a little bit 3D chess. So Vance went off the quickest way, and they jerked him out of the chair and brought him over. I think President Trump, you saw where they actually put him down on the ground, you know, and that was probably just the agent in charge decision to do that right away. But yes, he did resist. He did want to see what's going on. Think about Pennsylvania when he got shot in the ear. You know, he's like holding his hand up, right? You know, he just didn't. He wanted to stand up, I guess. But you know, our job as agents, if you're on one of these details, is to cover and evacuate. So what they did is they covered him up. And they saw it was clear, and they had a bunch of other agents jump in front of them. Our CAT guys are the guys in the SWAT suits. You notice how they jumped right up, ready to take any kind of a secondary attack. So the agents, I give them a lot of compliments. They reacted just the way we were trained over and over again. They covered and evacuate. A lot of those people out in the crowd with suits were not Secret Service, because you have cabinet members, and they have security from their own particular fields. So it was kind of a mixture of different security events there.
Probably a lot of security in that building. Like most of the people you saw might have been probably security
a lot of
people.
them, yeah, with the pin on and the earpiece.
mean,
That's where dead
cabinets,
giveaways, right?
Okay, well, let's turn on to a second topic that had a lot of security.